Bus 6 at IKEA. Brilliant. That's it. It's at IKEA in Glasgow. Bus 6. It's coming through. I drove it through for the to collect some tyres as well at Bridgeton. Stop off on route at IKEA. So I took bus 6 through to Bridgeton to get its new tyres. So this is bus 6 now getting its new tyres fitted. I think he's checking also the back axle coolant, is it? Check the back axle oil level perhaps. Just give it a wee check over. So this is at Bridgeton in Glasgow. Getting a bottle jack and just manually jack this 12-ton vehicle up. So it's just the jacking point. I know I did that, that's okay. So this is underneath bus 6. I've decided to go under, even though it's dripping with all the road wet and mucky. It's actually quite good condition under here. Airbag suspensions. Oops. That's all the hydraulics and electric and air lines and everything stretching from the front to rear. Bus bodybuilders build buses with this as the wheelbase. They determine the length of the bus by adding this box section, and the Volvo chassis builders do the sub-assemblies at the rear sub-assembly, which is the rear overhang where all the main mechanical parts are, and the front overhang where all the driving power steering boxes. This is a ZF drop centre axle for the low floor. I'm just sort of briefly making a video here because it's getting dripped on with all the muck, and the mechanic here's want to get this get this job done, so kind of get all these way. Front suspensions fully independent. Disc brakes on front. This is where the batteries are kept, and that's the power steering box. Just to there, I think it's Anchorman steering. Airline. It wasn't an XT said, it's different, probably Fife or something, I'm guessing, or Western was it? A1.
Look at that box, that looks like A1 to me.
Yeah, triangle sort of shape in it. Well, it would have been. It's definitely not a Tayside one, I know that much. It's a Mark II, tell by the dashboard that it was a Mark II. Probably a V-Reg or a double V-Reg or something. That's Van Hill body Mark 1 and 276 Mark 2 with a Mark 3 engine. Volvo Elses. So it's just in the process of getting the engine repaired, getting restored up on 276. Yeah, once you get the few jobs done on the engine, it all should be sounding good, running good after that. It's a great sounding bus, that one. It's amazing. It's so unique because it's a Volvo Elsa Mark 2 with a Mark 3 engine in it, but it still retains its original Mark 2 back axle, so you're getting a mixture of both sounds. It's so unique. Really amazing sound, that. The one to the right of this one here is the Mark 1 Volvo Elsa with the Van Hill body, and that's quite unique as well because there's not many of the Elsa's bodies with Van Hill Mercados. I'll show you the back. Nice fine collection of vintage vehicles here. Big variety. It's Strathclyde, an old Strathclyde Leyland Atlantean. It's an 11 litre engine, aspirated, non-turbocharged basically. Leyland 680, I think, the engine that's in that. So it's just over, it's 11.1 litres diesel 6-cylinder, aspirated, meaning it's non-turbocharged. And that's Mark 3 Volvo Elsa. It's originally with Strathclyde buses. It's got a 6.7 litre turbocharged engine, or 7 litre engine basically. Same engine that's in 276. Bridgeton has open days usually in about October. That's the public open days, and they have buses running from here, and it goes around about Glasgow and that, just for like sample the buses on tours and that, just reruns, etc. That's an MCW Metropolitan London bus back there. Turn around, I'll show you. Oh no, actually, tell a lie. My mistake, it's a Metro Camel Weeman Metro bus. I thought it was a Metropolitan, it's a Metro bus. It's London, I think. Yeah. So it's the bodywork's done by MCW as well in that red one. I think the one to the right is well, that's Alexander bodywork, and I think that's a Metro Camel Weeman chassis, Metro bus chassis. With the Alexander body, Kelvin Scottish. So MCW, Metro Camel Weeman do the chassis and the bodywork as well. It's called the Integral. I'll show you the front. Should have maybe done that actually. I wouldn't take you around the front and show you the front of it. So it's a 2-door bus for London. And this windscreen, the split windscreen, is a feature with Metro buses, with the Metro bus bodyworks. well, MCW bodyworks. It's the same with the Metropolitan, which is the model before that. I believe the Metro bus replaced the Metropolitan. The Metropolitan, I think, came out in 1973, I think, something like that, and the Metro bus was 78. I'm not sure. It was round about that anyway. They might even run them. They may have even sold them co-consecutively, not at the same time. Possibly, not 100% sure, but anyway. Dundee never had any Metro buses in their fleet. They had a demonstrator in the 70s, but they didn't buy any. I mean, Dundee isn't Tayside buses, Tayside Dundee buses. Although Strath Tay, which is the neighbouring company, they ran Metro buses. So what we're doing here. And in the sort of workshop area, running gear is, engines, gearboxes, back axles. I'll show you. So I believe this is a Leyland engine, a national engine. It's 11 litres. Turbocharged, this one. It's a big alternator. That's what charges the batteries. Because this engine will sit horizontally, this will be the sump, or oil reservoir rather, because it's called a dry sump. A conventional engine sits vertical, where the sump would be at the bottom, and the oil would obviously sit at the bottom of the engine. But I believe this is the transmission that couples up the Leyland transmission. Fluid coupling on the front. It basically accommodates the clutching function. It's a big flex plate or flywheel. This engine looks like it's getting valves work done on the valves. The rocker covers it off. Yeah, the engines sit under the floor, so they sit horizontally because it's underfloor engine. Obviously you couldn't have a vertical under the floor, it'd be too tall with right edge, so you've got to sit the engine horizontally on some models and have the oil reservoir and this fitted in this configuration. As I said, the conventional engines, like the majority of engines in cars and sit vertical with the oil pans at the bottom. It's just the oil sump sits at the bottom of the engine. That's the injector pump. 6 cylinders, so there'll be a lift pump that takes fuel from the tank, the fuel tank, which is positioned wherever it is, so probably in the wherever it is on the chassis. And that'll then supply fuel to this go through all the filters and that, and then it will get really pressurised with this mechanical pump. That mechanical pump's driven off the camshaft. Also, this is the air compressor. So it will squirt the fuel along these lines under very, very high pressure into the cylinder head, where it will then basically get burnt. So this is mechanically driven injector pump. This will be the timing gear side, I think. I'm not sure. I'm just sort of like using, I'm not a mechanic. I'm just using the knowledge that I've gained just throughout the years of reading and YouTube videos and being around bus parts and mechanical parts. I'm no mechanic, so I couldn't tell you every single detail about it, but this could be a pressure test being done. That's the belt housing for the flywheel, or the fluid coupling. So there's all different engines and that, and here in this workshop there's a lot of interesting parts. This is like a transmission or something, or maybe an overdrive transmission. Cylinder heads. So these are really old engines, they'll be probably from the 50s and that. That's the crankshaft, the bottom half of the engine, or the bottom half of a engine. They don't know which engine, but It's just an example of a crankshaft, and there's the pistons, here's the size of the pistons. Con rods, connecting rods, which connect to the crankshaft, and that's the oil journals. That's the big end bearings, the big end shell bearings, and the oil goes through there to lubricate them. That's an angular drive transmission, because it'll be, the engine will sit transverse vertical on this. It'll be a rear engine double decker, I'm guessing. But obviously the engine's not on this transmission, but it would be sitting vertical in the air, connect up through this flywheel, and the drive line will, the power from the engine will go through the transmission, then it'll come to this angular drive, where it will then come up to the rear axle, where the final drive differential gearbox is. I think that's in the heater matrix. There's big brake drums for the brakes on the rear axle on the bus. This is a Cummins engine, this. Turbocharged. The Volvo Olympian. Void gearbox. So a lot of other bits and pieces. That just gives you an idea what sort of components which goes into a bus chassis that makes it run. It's all the vital components. The running gear, or the drive line if you like. And they call it a drive line. I mean, when you think engine, to say a bus has got an engine, well it does, it has an engine, but it's, that's obvious, unless it's electric of course. But this is the engine, the actual engine. But also in the drive line is the transmission. So you get the engine, the transmission, the prop shafts and the rear axle. That makes up the drive line or the power line. So that's what gives buses different sounds, because they have a different mixture of engines and transmissions and rear axle differentials, which makes sound as well. That's a Leyland Atlantean, which is a vertical mounted 11 litre aspirated diesel. This is from a Leyland National single decker, which is horizontal engine, rear mounted I believe. Rear mounted it is. That's an old bus. That's a Leyland National. This is what a Leyland National looks like. Now this is a Leyland Leopard. It's got the same engine as what the Leyland Atlantean has, but it sits horizontal under the floor of this. So it's 11 litre Leyland 680 engine, horizontally mounted. Mid-mounted as well, so it's mounted in the wheelbase. This is a Volvo B7tl Van-Tool Mikado bodied coach. This is undergoing preservation. Quite like these, they're luxurious. So this is inside the Van-Tool Mikado bodied coach. It's obviously it's undergoing restoration at the moment. It's getting work done on the dashboard, the gauges and bulbs etc. Which is all electronically connected in. And this is what the seats are like. It's really quite impressive actually. Really nice coach. I like these. Oops. Just getting work done on the seats as well. It's getting undergoing restoration work. So just briefly showing you what it's like in here. Oh, it's a wee bit dark unfortunately. I've not got a torch with us, but I'll just sort of show you what I could show you at the moment. Now that's just sort of fairly typical sized. I think their oil filters are massive. If you compare that to the size of the ones in the car, much bigger. just dwarfs the car size filter. So this is a manual box, manual transmission. Probably a 6-speed or something. Or might even be a splitter box as well, being a coach. So this is a Volvo B7tl, it's the same chassis as what's on bus 6, but it's a different bodywork. Quite a nice machine. This is older than bus 6, this one. I think this is, yeah, it's an X-Veg. This is like one of the earlier B7tls, Volvo B7tls, but it's same dashboard, same mechanically, just bus 6 will have, you know, slightly revised revisions made to it being a more of a modern, well, 4 years younger. To Leyland Leopard coach to the right. So I'm just briefly going through this. I'm not really overly genned up on all these buses because they're, and just more genned up on the Dundee ones, but go to the likes of Lathaman Bus Museum. All these examples, all the buses here, there's a good chance you're going to see them on the Lathaman open days. The Lathaman Bus Museum is about 4 miles away from the Scottish town of Dunfermline. In fact, if you go to Dunfermline bus station, you'll get a free bus to Lathaman. They usually run old vintage buses, free shuttle service. It only costs you £6 or £7 to get into the museum, and you get to sample all the buses when you're there, because they run internal services and they run to and from Dunfermline all day. They mix them up, so you get shot at trying them all. But yeah, if you go to Lathaman, they usually have their opening days in May, which is a running day. Public opening weekends usually 3rd weekend in August. It's in August anyway, just check online for the exact date. There's a good chance you'll see these buses. Some of them will make an appearance at Lathaman Bus Museum. We have other valleys as well. Lathaman's a big one in Scotland, but they have other valleys, bus museum opening days all up and down the country. So, but the Lathaman's a big one in Scotland. This is an old lorry. I remember seeing them in the late 70s when I was really young. I was only a toddler. But I remember seeing things like this going up and down Cheviot Crescent in Finchley, where I used to stay in Dundee, and I just remember the shape. Although this is not the exact vehicle, but it's one that's very much similar to it. Bear in mind I was only, well, 1979 I was only 4, but I could remember as far back as 1978, and I remember the lemonade lorry and the bar lorries with a big box on it. They were yellow coloured, and it used to come up Cheviot Crescent. And it's just this, you know, the old look about it brings back memories like. You look at buses like this sort of era. This is going way back to the like 50s and everything, you know, 40s, late 40s, 50s. Maybe even some of them are earlier. I'm not sure just how old that one is. It's a Leyland. So this is way beyond my time, and not very genned up on this sort of age of buses. But although I could vaguely remember, obviously not as far back as the 1950s, but Dundee did run backloaded buses up to as late as the late 70s. As I say, I was very young. You're talking about 3 and 4 year old. I could just kind of maybe remember it very vaguely, but I remember the Fleetliners more, which they came in the 60s and they ran through the early 80s. I remember this sort of design. Sort of more familiar with that, although this is a Glasgow bus. The bodywork is an Alexander bodywork, and that type of dome at the top of the top front window, Dundee ran Fleetliners that had that kind of similar looking design to it. And this, the engine's at the back. I'm going to show you. So that's what it's like. It's called a bustle. That bit's called the bustle. You think of it as like a boot, you know. Well, it's not an actual boot. It's the bustle is where the engine is, but you could refer to it as the engine in the boot kind of thing, because it looks like a boot. Like this here is, you could think of that as a boot, but I think it's officially called the bustle. And that just lifts up and you get access to the engine. So using this metro bus as an example, the engine's at the back on this model of bus as well, but it doesn't have a bustle. It's a flushback, and this lifts and you access the engine in there, but it's not, you don't get the same kind of access as you would if it was a bustle, obviously, because of the bodywork. Yeah, London Transport like these things. In fact, I think they were designed for London. I think they were actually designed from the drawing board upwards with London in mind. MCW Metro Camel Weeman, because the Metropolitan came out first, and that was designed for London Transport, and obviously other companies bought them as well, but I think initially it was designed and built for London, just like that of the famous London Route Master bus. That was designed and built for London. Now these are my favourites, the Volvo B7tl, built and designed in Scotland, and the bodywork is also built in Scotland. Walter Alexander and Falkirk. Now this is the era I remember. This is the kind of buses I like. This is the model that I've got me into buses. The one that we have at the Justin Hall is an actual X-Day side bus. It's SR46X. Well, this is a very, very similar to the buses that Dayside had. But that's ex-Glasgow, obviously. Nice example of one. So, see what's happening with bus 6. They're changing the tyres round on it, swapping them out. So, just spending a bit of time in here. The other owner of bus 4, I say bus 6, it's actually 7006. The fleet number's changed to 2806. Xplore Dundee bus. And bus 4, well, that was 7004, and then it was changed to 2804 with Xplore Dundee. Now, the original Xplore Dundee was originally owned by National Express, and then when they were bought over by the Glasgow-based or Greenock-based company McGill's, they changed the fleet numbers. They changed all the fleet numbers of all the buses, and it ended up having this fleet number changed from the batch 7001 to 7018 is 1 to 18 fleet with National Express. And when McGill's bought them over, they changed the fleet numbers. They changed them all from that to 2801 to 2818. So they just took away the 7 and 0 and put a 28 in front of it and kept the last two digits. So 7001 to 7018 was changed to 2801 to 2818. That was McGill's done that. So, but when I say bus 6, it's bus 2806 is what the fleet number was when it left service. So I just say bus 6 for short. So bus 6 is the Volvo B7tl with the Wright Gemini bodywork. So it's getting tyres fitted there. But the other enthusiast has got bus 4, and they've got tyres, just collecting their tyres to take back with us for bus 4. Yeah. So I'm just going to have a wee wander about. I'll film as I go, kind of thing, just see what else I've got. So this 276 behind us, ex-Tayside Dundee Tayside buses, that when it was new in 1979 when it was built, I went through to Finland, Helsinki, a place called Helsinki in Finland, and it went through to demonstrate Volvo buses. So it's unique. There's a plaque inside there, you know, just as a kind of memorial plaque for it to, or a kind of commemorate plaque saying that it had been there. It's a gold plaque. It's on the bulkhead at the staircase. So I was in Helsinki for about 6 months or something. And also it's this kind of an experimental bus, because not only has it got a Mark III engine in it, and it's a Volvo also Mark II, it also had experimental work done with the destination blade. It was a digital destination blade at one time. They're trying out all sorts of things with that one. It was the last of a batch of the first Mark IIs that came to Dundee, Tayside buses in Dundee. The first Mark IIs were registered WTS 271T to WTS 276T, and they were fleet numbered 271 to 276. And they were the first Mark II Volvo Ilses to come to Dundee. And the last one of that batch is 276, and they used that one as an experimental bus. And as I say, the demonstration, I went as a demonstrator to Helsinki in Finland, and that was in 1979. So it left the factory new. I think it went to Tayside for maybe a couple of weeks or something, then it went straight to Finland. And it was there for right through the summer, and it finally entered service for Dundee during October 79. So it was built in February 79, done demonstrating work in Finland, Helsinki, then it came back to Dundee and went into service in October 1979, because all the rest of them, 271 to 275, went into service in February 1979, because they didn't go, they just went right into service for Dundee. That's my knowledge anyway. I remember when I first discovered this one with a Mark III engine. It was the spring of 1988. I was still at high school. I was 13, just coming up for 13-year-old. I was at school, and if I was going down to my friend's house, it was my mate's granddad's house actually, on the school dinners, during school dinners, and I was walking down Charleston Drive, and I saw this on the 10 circular, and when I pulled out from the bus stop, the noise, the engine, I was like, I couldn't believe what I was hearing. It was a Mark III engine and a Mark II. I was really excited. I kind of like sitting in class thinking about it all the time, you know. Yeah, that was very unique. I could write a book just on all the excursions and trips and tours, and I could tell you all the stories that I've related with it. I could be here forever telling you stories about it, because I've got a lot. It means a lot to me, that one. Ended up as a berry bus. In April 1997, and I went to the Berries just to get on that bus. So, I could be here all day telling you my life story regarding buses. All buses at the Tayside ones, but that was a very unique Tayside bus. That one. Second to that of my favourites of all, which were the 36 to 50 fleet. None of them 36 to 50 are here, unfortunately. It would be nice if there was more of them surviving, but there's only, we've got one. It's SR46X at Justin Hall, and it's needing work on it. But at least it's saved from the breakers. So I'm going to have a look up here and see how bus 6 is getting on. Oh yeah. I mean, I could write a story on all the bus spotting years that I've done regarding the Tayside buses and all the fleets. I know some of the fleets like the back of my hand. I used to draw pictures of the buses when I was at school. There wasn't very many bus spotters, but yeah, I miss those days, I really do. Totally different era back then. So now I'm a bus driver. I've been a bus driver for Be 14 years this year. I started driving the buses in August 2008. I've been a bus spotter since summer '87, officially a bus spotter. Although I was into all sorts of vehicles before that. But it was the 36 to 50 fleet buses that got me into buses. Again, it's a long story. I'd be here all day explaining it, but maybe for another video. So I'll see how bus 6 is getting on with this new tyres. We'll go and have a look. Well, that's what I was talking about with the fleet numbers. You can just see the imprint left of 7006. But when McGill's bought the Volvo, they changed it to 2806. But I'm not going to rub that off. It's filthy. But you can just make it out. But when it came new, it was, well, I just referred to it as bus 6. That's how I remember it, but apparently it was 06. But, well, looks like there's new wheels, new wheels on it. Looks like we've got new tyres. That's what they come in for. So that's good. Oh, I'm actually back under bus 6 again. I just say bus 6 for short. But this is a view underneath. That's the drop centre, rear drop centre axle, rear drive axle. Oh, it's a wee bit cramped under here, so I'm not really. I don't really want to be under here too long. Engine there, that's the sump where the oil's kept, vertically mounted engine. It's a transmission, that's angular drive. It takes the transverse power line, then takes the transverse power line, goes to this angular drive, and then changes the angle of the drive so it fits into the rear axle this way, which is transverse as well. That's the prop shaft with the CV joint, the CV joints, the falling all over the coupling universal joints. It's a wee bit cramped under here, so I'm not quite as fit as I used to be. I'll try and get as much as I can for you. Oh, I can hear the door open, so I'm going to get out here for. That's alright. Just let them know that I'm under here. Yeah, I was just making people know that, making people aware that I'm underneath here. Yeah, so that's the stabilisers for the rear axle. That's an oil cooler. Oh gosh, my knees are getting sore, so I'm going to have to get out from my knee. I'm just not really. My joints are a wee bit. My ankles, my knee joints are a bit sore at the moment, so I don't want to be. I mean, I stand at 6 foot tall, and this is certainly not 6 foot, this height. So I'm kind of crouched, and it's giving me a bit of a sore back. So, and I don't like scrape my head across the top of this. Or I should say, I don't like scrape my head across the underside of this bus because it's absolutely filthy. So I'm kind of getting myself out. Oh, I'm not as fit as I used to be, but there's not that much clearance. It's quite low down, although there is a device where you could, it's like a jack that goes across the pit, and that then raises the bus up at the front and the rear, or whatever hands you're working on. It could give you more headroom, more clearance, so it's not so sore, because when I'm under there, I'm kind of, like that, kneeling, crouched over, and it's not very comfortable doing that and filming at the same time. So. That's a typical bottle jack that was used for lifting the buses. 10 tonnes. Although the bus weighs more than 10 tonnes, this one weighs 12.25 metric tonnes. Obviously that jack will lift up a side of the bus, one side, which will be about half the way. But it is rated for 10 tonnes. So, a bit stronger than your average car jack, shall we say, by a long shot. So, it's just a wee tour around. Very interesting stuff. So I think we're just going to be having a look around Glasgow later. Some of the still game filming locations, we're taking the bus to them, I believe. We're doing that later. I'm just going to see what happens. Oh, I'll show you this jack, by the way. It's absolutely enormous. It's huge. This is a typical bus jack. It is massive. Absolutely enormous. And that's the hydraulic piston. It's hydraulics, you see, as it's pumping that, it pumps hydraulic fluid into this piston. So basically, this lever will move a big angle, right? A huge angle. That's a big angle compared to the movement you've got on that end. So all the effort that you use to move that lever down, only a very small effort is coming out here. However, the strength is magnified using the hydraulics. But you don't get energy for nothing. Conservative energy, I think it's called. Energy conservation, something like that. But it's basically all the effort, the number of times you pump that lever on that large distance. It's basically multiplying all that torque into very small movements of this side with a lot of power, with a lot of torque behind it, or force behind it. It's been multiplied by this piston, this hydraulic piston. It's all to do with leverage and stuff. But that's how that jack could lift up this big, huge vehicle, you know, being 12.25 ton. It's just hydraulics, leverage, big effort at this end, multiple times, very small movements at this end, but lots of energy. Concentrating it on at this point, which lifts the mass of the vehicle up, or at least a side of it anyway. And this is what a wheel looks like without the tyre. A bus wheel. Now the bus wheels are doubled up at the rear. It's basically the same wheels as that's at the front, but they just turn one in one way and the other one's inside out, if you like, so it's back to front. So that will be on the inside, and then the other wheel will be turned around so that the both inner bits here will be mated up, and then the studs will just go right through, to basically doubling the wheels up. But it's the same wheels, it's just like, that's the inside bit of the wheel, but on the front it's this other way around. But it's the same wheels, that's why it looks different. The front and the rear look different, but they are in fact the same wheels, it's just they're mated, one's that way, one's the other way. So you're looking at the inside of that wheel, which is that, but on the front you're looking at the outside. They double it up for extra, because the rear drive axle does all the driving and all the weight, to try and get all the weight onto the rear axle, to take the weight off the front axle. That's the loading axle, so they double the wheels up for that. Right, so I'll just see what the plan is for later. I'll just randomly record whatever I'm going to record, see what we're going to do later on this afternoon with the bus. Here in Glasgow, we might go to some of the still game locations. Just see what happens. So this is just to give you an example of the size of the torque wrenches that are used on buses. Huge. Yeah, so getting a bit of battery attention work done to it again. This is the batteries come out on this tray, it swings out from underneath the cab, and it's getting some electrical work being done on it at the moment. Just checking some of the wiring under there. This is one in. 7 litre diesel. Original hydraulic cooling front. The ZF 5-speed gearbox, the angular drive on the back, hydraulically controlled cooling fan. The turbocharger, it's also got an intercooler as well. The charge pipe comes out here, that's the intercooler, which is going by a kilowatt. goes through the charge pipe and then into the, oh sorry, it gets sucked in from the air filter first, then it goes through the turbo charger, then into the intercooler, and then back into the other side of the engine where the intake manifold is. That's high pressure injector pump. High pressure fuel injector pump. AC compressor, well that's disconnected on that. Behind that's all in there. Behind the AC compressor. The AC compressor back there, it's all in there. A couple of other things getting sorry, there's a couple of other things getting done with bus 6. There's the air gauge, one of the air tank gauges, I think is getting checked over, and an ABS sensor. Also the demisters as well, possibly a fuse for the demister booster motor, because there's a motor. The motor will be getting to the matrix, the heater matrix, which is at the front, but you've got a booster fan which will suck the air in from the outside, blow it over the heater matrix, and then out to the air ducts under the windscreen. So the booster fan has got to be turning in order to suck the cold air in from the outside, suck it through the hot heater matrix, and blow it out through the demister vents to demist the windows and also to heat the cab. But the motor, the actual blower motor, that's not working. So I thought maybe it was cold inside, and I thought maybe the water wasn't getting to the matrix and the cooling system was needing bled. But I don't know about that. But I do know that the motor isn't working. So I think the first thing is to get the motor, the fuse for the motor checked, and also the switch for the switch the motor on. Check the connections on the motor, check the fuse, stuff like that. That's the simple things to check first of all before we start like thinking about bleeding cooling systems, because that's a bit of a bigger job. I think check the fuse first of all. So, and as I say, there's I think he's checking something else under there, possibly the ABS sensor or something in it. So there's also an air tank. There's 2 air tank gauges on the dashboard. In fact, I'll maybe get in and show you. Yeah, so there's 2 air gauges. That's air tank 1. In fact, I'll get in this car, we'll sit in it properly and show you. No, actually I won't, because I don't want to be touching anything by accident whilst there's somebody working on it, so I won't get in the cab. But I'll just point out the gauges. Air tank 1, air tank 2. You've got auxiliary air tank. It's for your brakes. And you've got, you see the brakes on buses and big heavyweight trucks, articulated trucks, double-decker buses, big single head, all these big heavy vehicles have an air brake system. It's not like your cars. Most cars have hydraulic brakes, but big vehicles like buses and trucks use an air brake system. And there are 2 gauges on the dashboard to tell you the air pressures. So you get tank 1 and tank 2, and they've got to be in the green, but this gauge isn't working. So there could be a fault somewhere down the line, bad connection. There isn't a leak, because if there was an air leak, this parking brake wouldn't release. It's a safety feature. What happens is if you lose air when you're driving, the parking brake will come on automatically at the back. Right? Even though this will be in the off position. What you're doing effectively is when you, like the air brake system, when you start the bus up, right, in the morning, first thing, you wait on the air pressure building. So you won't be able to move the bus. If you release the handbrake, right, you won't be able to move the bus because the air pressure isn't up yet, so the handbrake's still on. But once the air pressure builds, that will release the big spring on the back of the rear brake chamber in the back axle, and that will allow you to release the handbrake. Volvo also have a Brom's brake, it's like a second parking brake, safety brake, but basically that's how the air brake system works. Once it's charged up, Once these gauges are in green, 8 bar, and the parking brakes able to be released and you're able to drive, because then that ensures then you've got enough air pressure to operate the service brake, which is the brake pedal. But as I say, I'm not going to go in the car because it's been worked on at the moment, so I'm just standing up here just to give you an idea. So this is the wee bit about air brakes. There's a lot of other things that will use air on a big double decker. The air this model's got the air sac suspensions on both axles, front and rear. And the front one lowers, so you can lower the platform for ease of access. So it make it easier to get on and off, especially disabled people, old people. And they use airbags like similar to this. They inflate with air. In fact, you might see it. That was too dark. But that's got to be charged up as well. The compressor on the engine charges all that up. So, and the air also operates the door system. So there's a lot of pneumatics on a bus. But like I say, I'm not a mechanic. I just learn this through time, hobby, just reading up, going online and just learning stuff myself. There's a lot of interesting tech that goes into these things. When you're in a workshop like this, you see all the bits and pieces. I've always been fascinated in that. Ever since I was a kid, I loved it. I used to go into the depot, did it, the Tayside depot. I used to go in there at the weekends. Back then there wasn't as much health and safety back in the late 80s as there is nowadays. Health and safety nowadays is just, it's gone right through the roof. But back in the 80s, it was a case of if you went in at your own risk. There was always health and safety, obviously, but not as strict as it is now. But I remember I was only 12, 13-year-old. And I used to get to go under buses in the pits down at the depot. Wasn't meant to, but I mean, they sort of like, it was different. You were said that if you just be careful, there was always a mechanic there. But not officially allowed, but things were different back in the 80s. You were allowed to get away with a lot more back then. Different story nowadays. Different story now. You couldn't do that nowadays. So. Yeah, changed times and all. But anyway, I'm just still waiting to see what the story is. We're hanging about for a wee bit. Just hanging around, just deciding seeing what's happening, a lot going on. Oh, this is funny, this. I'll show you this. Oh, this is
Well, his name in YouTube,
I'll show you what I mean. So I'm still at Bridgeton, a lot of it's pronounced here in Glasgow. We've been here a wee while, we're still working on the bus, so I'm just going to find a shop around about here to get a bite to eat. I'm not sure if there'll be time to do much of the still game filming locations. We'll just see what happens, because if we were, I would get some of that on the video for you as well. But I think I'm going to have to find a shop and a wee bit peckish. But this is Bridgeton in Glasgow. Turn around, I'll show you. So the museum, the actual Bridgeton Bus Museum was an ex-garage. It used to be a bus garage many years ago. And that's the red building on the left. And it's just on 4 Nuke Street. Ah, there's the petrol station just up there, there's a BP garage just up here. So, get something to eat. I've not had much to eat at all day. I've been up since 6:30 this morning. I've only had a sandwich earlier. So. Right, I'll let you know like I'll see what else we're doing. Anything worth filming, I'll get the camera out and show you. But I'm going to get myself sandwich. This is this street here actually. Rimsdale Street is where the buses sometimes park during the opening days. They'll park along that wall on that side, or is it? and maybe tell maybe the other road, because I'm not overly familiar with this area. Although I've been to Bridgeton a few times on the opening days, but I'm not familiar with the surrounding areas. But they do have, there's another street where the buses come in and out. They go in one way and come out another way. It's just to avoid bottleneck, you know. When buses meeting on the going in opposite directions, meeting on the narrow roads, because there's parked buses, parked cars and everything. But, anyway, I'll let you know how I get on. Yeah, there's a subway here, so I think I'm going to grab a sandwich from there. So it's fair, it's just a little bit of information for you if you're ever visiting the Bridgeton Museum, and they have burger bars usually in the opening day, but you can also come to this garage as well, which is just 2 minutes from the place, just round the corner. So a little bit of useful information. Right, so I've got enjoying my subway. Just in the workshop again, just having killing a bit of time really. They're still fixing the I think they're working on the air brake gauge on bus 6. But anyway, you can see a wee bit of the workshop. We've got the bus here. That's a Volvo B7 BLE. It's on the stands, axle stands. These are high lift axle stands, obviously. So if you don't have a pit, then you could work on it by raising it up on these stands. In the case of Justin Hall, we don't have a pit, so we would need to use axle stands. But there's one thing you've got to be careful with when you use axle stands. You've got to make sure that you've got enough clearance, especially if it's a double decker. You know, you can clear the roof struts, because you've got beams going right across the roof, you know, as in these. So you've got to make sure there's enough headroom before you lift it up like that. And, it's just things like that, you know, common sense. Sort of. But that's what we'd have to check that out, do measurements, Justin Hall for the the warehouse. This particular one's just bad for a single decker, but there's pits here anyway in the other buildings. So excuse me, just first thing I've had to eat for ages. I'll turn around, I'll show you some of the auxiliaries. It's a good example of transmission, back axle and engine just over there. I'll go and show you. So here's a prime example of the running gear. So that's your engine, that's the propulsion part, that's what develops the power. It basically does all the horsepower. Then it's put through the transmission. So these are transmissions. That's your gears basically. So what that does is it keeps the engine at the sweet RPM. So it keeps the revs, you know, it does a lot of the torque pulling at between 1500 and 1800 RPM. So the gears will try and keep the engine within that sort of power range. And this is your rear axle. So from the engine goes through the transmission and then into the back axle. That's your final drive, that's your differential. That allows that wheel to turn at a different speed from that wheel when cornering. It also allows the power to come in at this angle and it basically turns the drive from this angle into that angle. And it also reduces the number of turns. So for like 4 turns in, you'll get maybe 1 turn out, depending on the back axle ratio. So it's your final drive. So basically it's multiplying the torque by the number of turns coming in. It's a reduction. So if it's reduced, for example, let's just say 2 turns go in and 1 turn comes out. That means you're going to have half the speed coming out, but you're going to have twice the torque. That's torque multiplication. So that's your final drive. It does all that. And that's on the rear drive axle on a bus. And that's just the coupling, universal coupling, that allows for movement in the axle and the you know, because the axle's on the suspension, it will move up and down, but you've still got to have the thing connected up to the drive line, and this allows for that. So it's great being in a workshop. I like it because I learn a lot. See, there's I think that's a Rolls Royce engine, I think, for a bus, probably a metro bus or something. So you get engine, bell housing, which is your fluid coupling, transmission. I'm not too sure of this setup here, but it's basically an engine, transmission, and it goes out to the final drive. So That's their exhaust silencers. I think there's certainly a tank there, a diesel tank, but I think that's the silencer. Well, a silencer for a bus. I'm not sure what model. It doesn't look like an Elsa model. This engine here does look like it's from an Elsa. This engine, it's a TD70, I think, and there was always a way I could tell which was which. There was a TD70E, which was the earlier one, and then there's a TD70H, which was a slightly revised model. But if I'm right, this is a TD70H because it's got one bolt holding the injector in, whereas the TD70E has two bolts. I think I'm right that this is a Volvo TD70H engine. And it's got a fluid coupling, which would suggest to me that it's going to an SCG Leyland gearbox. It wouldn't be the Voith transmission, because the Voith transmission's got a built-in torque converter, and the torque converter is within the transmission, whereas the SCG boxes don't have a torque converter in the transmission. They have the fluid coupling on the flywheel, and then the SCG box has got brake bands that lock the gears for the gear ratios, but you need to have slippage, you know, when you're stopped and you're still in gear, so that it doesn't stall, and that slippage is accommodated by this fluid coupling. But in the Voith transmissions, it's a flex plate on the engine flywheel, and the slippage, if you like, is a torque converter within the centre of the transmission on a Voith. On a ZF gearbox, the torque converter's on the front of the transmission, on the bell housing. Oh gosh, I get my roll. Left my roll there. Oh. Quite a lot to see here. I love it being here. I learn a lot. There's an example of an actual stand for the bus. A wee bit bigger than your car once, obviously. Oh, it's actually a jack actual stand. That's for raising it up. We've got actual stands as well that go under the, you know, the lower down in that. It's a Volvo B7tl. Volvo B7tl city bus, single decker. So yeah. I like Volvo B7tls. I like them. Right, I'm going to see how they'll get on me with bus 6. I'll see what's happening. So before I go, I'll show you a radiator. It's a 2-bank radiator. So it's like 2 radiators sandwiched together. And that'll be probably for a single decker, because it'll sit flush, you see. You can't have a big tall radiator on it, so there wouldn't be enough clearance. So they make them double banked. Something like this model. So the radiator sits flush in the bodywork. As an example. So you couldn't have it tall because it'd be right into the body, right into the door. So they sit them, and you can see it's doubled up. So it's effectively doubling the surface area. That's how radiator works. There's the cold air it gets sucked in by the fan, gets sucked through the radiator fins. It's a heat transfer. The fins, because it's thin metal, the heat goes to thin metal, loses its heat quicker. Sucks air through the radiator, which cools the pipes, where the coolant goes through these core. There's like core pipes. Fins are connected to the core pipes. That takes the heat. Will always transfer to the thinnest bit of metal. The cold air will pass through from the cooling fan and cool the radiator down. Or cool the coolant within the radiator. It will get circulated through the engine and the transmission, and whatever else needs cooled, but primarily they two. That's air sac suspension, airbags, self-leveling valve, make sure the bus is sitting level. You can't have one side inflated and the other side down, otherwise the bus will be lopsided. There's a wee bit underneath it. So this is a Volvo B10 BLE. The engine sits underneath at the rear. It's a horizontal engine. Intercooler is there. It's an intercooler. I'll point to it, but that's it there. Drive line, so the engine's horizontal, goes to the transmission and into the back axle. So it's down and it goes into a T at the end. The transmission, the final drive turns that line transmission into the 90 degrees. So I explained that as best I could. Right, let's see what's happening with bus 6. The tyres. Typical bus tyres are rim size of 22.5 for the radius for the centre hub. But the tyres could be different grades, different profiles, you know. But the rim bit's usually 22.5. That's the radius, 22.5 inches for the feel bit, the metal bit in the centre. Whereas the tyres are different, could be different profiles, different thicknesses, different tread patterns, etc. Oh. Actually, I'll show you a close-up view of a typical bus turbocharger. This is on the Leyland bus. Show you this. So a turbocharger looks like this. It's a typical turbocharger on this Leyland National engine. It's a huge engine, like 11 litres. So it's a non-cross flow engine, this, meaning that the air goes in one side and the exhaust gas comes out the same side. I don't believe it's intercooled, it's just simply a turbocharger, meaning that no, the exhaust gases come out of the cylinder head through the inlet, through the exhaust manifold. So the exhaust gases are coming out at very high pressure, comes through the manifold into the turbo, because what it does when the gases are going in, it's going to then cause this propeller to turn. Just because the gases are coming out at very high pressure. So as it's leaving this turbocharger, it comes out and then into the rest of the exhaust system. But because it's turning that, right, what it does is it's going to be, I'm not going to touch anything because these things are all under restoration, but so I'm not touching anything, but that shaft is connected to the other side. So when that other propeller spins, it causes this side to spin as well because it's connected to it. And as that's spinning, it's sucking air in from the air filter. It sucks air in, right? And it blows it out this side, which goes into the inlet manifold. And then it goes through the inlet manifold into the cylinder head, where it mixes with the diesel. Oh no, sorry, no it doesn't. It goes into the cylinder head and it gets compressed. Now just at the top of the compression on a diesel engine, the pressure is that high, it causes the air to heat up to a very high temperature. And once it reaches that high temperature, the fuel is then pumped in through this fuel pump at a very high pressure into the cylinder head, the combustion chamber, and then it will instantly combust. It's a compression ignition engine. That's what diesels are. They don't need spark plugs. So the turbocharger, the purpose of it is it's to give more air for a given diameter, given engine size. It's basically putting more air into the combustion chamber, which means more power, because you can't burn fuel without oxygen. So the more oxygen you have, the more fuel you can burn, and the more power. But in a lot of instances with the new buses, modern buses, as it's about emissions, so you get so much fuel going in, but you could get the same amount of power for less fuel going in because it's more efficient. You put more oxygen in, and you don't need to put in as much. In fact, you don't need to have as big an engine with a turbocharger on a modern engine, because you're downsizing the cubic capacity of the engine and you're getting quite a high power output out by using a turbocharger. So a 7 litre engine like what's in the Volvo Elsa, which I showed you earlier on, it's a turbocharged. Although this is 11 litre, modern buses tend to nowadays go smaller. They have a smaller engine but add a turbocharger. So it uses less fuel, but you're still getting kind of like the same power as this engine. Although, however, this engine here, being a larger capacity, will naturally have more torque because it's a very deep engine. This crankshaft's turning, it's a big deep stroke, so you're getting more torque on the crankshaft, but you won't necessarily get as much power as a turbocharger because it's a slower moving. I mean, it's a bit hard to I'm not a teacher, I'm not a mechanical engineer teacher, I just try to explain it as best I can. That's just very late. I hope you understood that. That's as best I can explain it at the moment. Anyway, there's the alternator. That's for charging your batteries, two 12 volt lead acid batteries, then series, which gives you the 24 volts. This is the air compressor for brakes, doors and everything. The little National hot air sac suspension, so that would also give air for the air sac suspension. Now the little Atlantic end of that doesn't have air sac. That's got leaf springs, which is these big long beams here, like horse and cart style. That's old fashioned solid suspension. I mean, it's not solid, but it's leaf springs. It's much firmer than an air sac. So I thought I'd just show you that. They're playing music. I've got to watch. If I'm putting this online, I don't want to get a copyright strike. I've got music on in the background. So I'm going on my way to see what's doing. Oh, there's a nice bus as well. So it's a nice view, that. Just looking down. Normally this place is jumping. On an opening day, this place is really busy, and you wouldn't get that view like that. There'd be people everywhere, but because it's quiet, that's not an opening day. It's just a private meeting, a private visit. But you get a great view of all the buses, an uninterrupted view of all that. That looks really nice, doesn't it? Other than the restoration work of this lovely coach is sanding the body panels down to get it painted up and that, tidy up the paint work, etc. So it used to be that side here. Super good. Yeah, well, I'm on Facebook as well.
We've got all sorts of,
So it used to be, this used to belong to London Sightseer. That was a London Sightseer coach originally, this one. And I'm just going to look at some pictures for me, what it was like originally. I'll try and show you on the camera as well. So this is a picture of what this bus looked like when it was in
so fucking leaking.
Service. And this is
That one on the beach there.
That's it there. That's coming out a bit fuzzy, but I'll gives you an idea of the delivery, doesn't it?
The work if I turned it portrait, did it?
Yeah, you could try that. I see that one.
No. 655, and actually that might work better for you, I don't know.
That's a bit, yeah.
No, if that
I'll
might.
try that. Oh, let's see that'll work. Oh, that's better. That's sort of focusing a bit. Oh, right. There we go. Had it a minute ago. Yeah, that's it. So this is its sister bus.
Sisters, aye.
Yeah. And that other one, is that the other sister to this
Aye.
bus as well?
We can't actually find, we're still trying to find the original photo of this one.
So it's trying to experiment to show you what this bus looked like when it was down in London. It had that livery. I could have maybe just screen saved it, or maybe if I remember, I'll screen save it. I'll try and get that on there. Oh, you've got a picture of the engine. I'll just turn this right. So this is a picture of the engine of a Volvo B7tl.
Want a bit of light?
Oh, perfect. Yeah, that's better. So this is the Volvo B10. It's a Volvo. No, what is it? It's the D10 engine. It's horizontal. Oh, THD 101 or something.
101?
Oh, the earlier ones. Yeah.
This is an 86.
1996, yep. So they've got the intercoolers on them, separate cylinder heads, turbo, so they... This is
There's
where
the
the,
intercooler as well. He's a new radiator and the intercooler. That comes in a 1 unit.
that's where the air filter would be coming in first of all, into there.
It's recently had its tappets done.
Oh yeah, set the tappets, yeah.
It's had the tappets done. I had a new air filter on it, and then somebody put it up in the lift and put it back down without inspecting it. And
Oh, is
crushed the
that
air
that
filter.
when I saw it was
And then,
thingy?
and then that's why you can see obviously in it the gasket needed.
This is a hydraulic oil, is it?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
power steering and the probably hydraulic cooling fan on this as well.
Actually, it does have a small leak in the middle as well, where the pump is leaking from the pump. So we're going to get that sorted as well. It's good. Everything else is good.
Yeah.
Just a couple of wee spots that need attention, but for being a 96 plate, it's
96 watts, 25 year
Nothing
old.
to be-
isn't it?
aye,
26
nothing.
year old this year. Yeah.
to be expected, you know.
Yeah. Some good nick.
Because that
Oh, there the air
takes up
filter
this
would be.
whole-
Yeah, it's a
this
big
whole
drum,
bit.
isn't it? Yeah. Huge,
aye.
big filter. So it's conical.
Big.
Yeah. But it draws it a lot. 10 litres engine, so worth of air, isn't it?
It's had the injectors done, it's got new washers in and stuff. They've all been tightened. Because we're leaking a wee bit, they were a bit loose. So we've actually got a spare one up there.
Oh, right, so this used to have a toilet and what used to be there. Oh, I see.
Obviously, you might have seen its panel. It was panel.
Oh, I did actually, yeah, because there's a panel just over there. Yeah. This next.
Literally, that's what's left of it. But this is all going to be redone. Once we get it down seated, that's going to get lifted up. That's going to get taken away. So it's a. Is this a 55 now, Sean? Oh, 50, 70, 49. It was originally had 49 seats.
Oh, right, so it's going to be upgraded to 57 seats by moving the toilet away, put an extra couple bays of, three bays of seats, I think, isn't it?
You don't get much. Yeah.
All right, so it's going back to having a toilet, right? I see. Yes. So there used to be a school bus, I guess, was it? When it had extra seat on it. Yeah, extra seating. They tend to do that, don't they? They put seats. Yeah.
In fact, it was before McMillan's had. I think it was McPherson's that took the.
Yeah. Oh.
It was lying in an abandoned one. But
So this would be going back in, yeah.
we still need the bottom half though. So we'll probably just fiberglass it.
Yeah.
Or formica. But it shows us quarter patties, new stretch panels, and paint.
So this bus had a toilet in it originally, and it was taken out and extra seats put in, and now it's going to go back to its original seating spec, which was it was originally 49 seats, and then they took away the toilet, made it up to a 54 seater, and now it's going to be getting reinstated back to a 49 seater, and the toilet's going back in it again. So yeah, back to its originality. Yep. Excellent. Yeah. So the interior also getting, so I was mentioning on here that the interior's also getting changed. It's going to be getting to a purplish colour, different, but it's kind of burgundy colour, isn't it? It's a burgundy. The curtains are changing as well. Is it changing the headliner as well on it? Or
Changing the
that
headlines
as well?
to just a that plain grey.
Yeah.
Because you can't get that stuff anymore either, so it'd be kind of pointless trying to waste time and try to find. But retrim to get taken out a bit.
Yeah.
A year and a half ago, with retrim. But funnily enough, we can't find this trim anymore. So.
No. Yeah, it's just getting what you can when you can get it, really. Yeah, just. So yeah, Barnsley, a lot of parts for this donor parts came from a place called Barnsley. Barnsley's a big scrapyard down in England, and there's loads of buses down there, and you get a lot of parts. That's where they got the toilet that's going to go back into this model. Originally it was a 49 seater, and to put extra seats in there to remove the toilet. The previous owners and that increased the seating capacity from 49 to 54. The restoration group are now going to put it back to being a 49 seater and put in a new toilet that they got from Barnsley in England, but the toilet's obviously been very much cleaned. So we're going to upgrade the interior as well, change the interior, the colour scheme. They're going to get a different match for because they've got curtains as well, you see, seat upholstery, curtains, roof upholstery. They're going to get the matching set, but a slightly burgundy colour as well. But on the cornices, I think, still retains the original colour scheme that I put the rest of the bus back to. So, the Volvo B7 Mark III. It's a company that used to own the bus company I worked with. It was National Express. Well, we're now bought over by McGill's of Greenock. Yeah, a lot getting done. God, I better. I've been here for ages. I'll see what's happening. I'll see what's going on at bus 6. I've been saying that for the last hour. Yeah, it was great. It's a lot going on here. A lot of restoration work happening. So I love it here. I just hope I could use are enjoying this as well. You could be sitting in wherever you are, comfortable in your armchair. It is a bit cold the day, like, apart from being cold, it's really nice. Yeah. I recommend it if you're into buses. Come here on the opening days on the October. Usually it's the second weekend in October. Just check online. Type in Bridgeton. I'll get the exact spelling and I'll fill in. Oh, they've got the bus off the pit, so I think that could be something I'll show you. We've got the bus off the pit. Oh, there's a spelling, look. So Bridgeton in Glasgow. So all this area here on the opening days is full of, it's family oriented. There's burger bars, there's things for the kids to do. It's busy, like there's a lot to do. They do tours as well. You can get on buses and sample them. That building's open. There's like a restaurant and that in there. No, a restaurant, rather a cafe, should I say, cafe. Plenty to do. It's well worth a visit even if you're not into buses. It's still worth a visit anyway, because like I say, you get the tours as well. They go out and runs, and you can get a shot on a vintage bus. And maybe after that, you will be into buses. Who knows? So let's see how. It's got its new tyres and that. So they got the misters working. So they got everything working, air gauges, new tyres, the misters, ABS light I think as well. Yeah, I think it's good to go. We set off from Dundee earlier this morning and we came through here to Bridgeton to get the work done on the bus. This is where all the work gets done. Because they've got all this stuff here, to facilitate. They've got the pits, got all the tools and everything, all the tyres, the bits and pieces that it was needing is here. So, and of course when we come here we've got a nice drive through as well. And if there was still time, we would have a look at some of the still game filming locations. It's just all about the time because it's got to see if there's time left. There's got to be daylight as well. It's still a long drive back. It takes longer getting back, obviously, in a bus because it's limited to 50 miles an hour. But if you're in a car, you're a lot quicker. So, are you driving us back home then? Yeah, should be going better now that they've got everything fixed on it. think he's just doing one other wee job at the back. It's maybe doing something with the micro switch, perhaps. I'm not sure. There's a wee switch when you open the bonnet. There's a wee micro switch. It could be that. I'm not sure exactly what, but there's maybe just a little job, little electrical work being done on it. So I fired that up anyway. Just checking. I just found out what it was he was fixing exactly. That little job he was doing there was fixing the reversing light beeper. You might be able to hear that. So he's just getting that sorted. Just to warn anybody, when you put it into reverse, you've obviously got your reversing lights, but there's a wee audio sound. Like a beep, 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 beep. Well, that's what he's fixing. That's what it was. Just wee jobs like that. Just getting all the wee jobs done for its MOT. I think the MOT is due next month, I think, so that's why they're getting all the bits and pieces done on it. Just know, as I say, this is the perfect time to do it because they've got all the stuff to facilitate the pits and everything, and all the tools. So is that dummy is? There's the always back in the seat. This is I'll show you. Fisher's on that. Yeah, Fisher's. This is other vacuum body. It's similar to what Fisher's Tours have got in Dundee. That one obviously used to be owned by Skyways, Isle Sky. That's very similar. I think the guy said it. The one that they've got, the white one, the ex-London sightseeing one, was a Mark IV Volvo B7tl, and this is a Mark III Volvo B7tl with the Vatio bodywork. I think that's what it was. But it's a nice looking coach anyway. And the other one will be nice when it's finished as well. So yeah, the thing about the Vatio bodyworks is they're steel bodyworks. Steel. They've got a steel frame on them. Like the Elsa behind me, that's a Mark I Volvo Elsa with a Vatio bodywork that's got steel as opposed to aluminium. Yeah, I got myself back up here as he was wanting, the lad there was wanting the picture in front of 276. So I'm back here again. Just walking back down to bus 6. Well, just hanging around because they were fixing it up earlier today, and I was just sort of spending time next to all these buses and that. So I wasn't planning on doing a video today actually. I just thought about doing that. I just what the hell, might as well do one. So it wasn't planned. As I maybe mentioned earlier, this bus behind me was a Mark II Volvo Elsa. That's what's left of it. So that's maybe, I don't know what they're doing with it. And that, I think, was Plaxton bodied Dart or something. I'm not quite sure what the plan is for these. Maybe just, I don't know, 100% sure what they're doing with the two buses. Or what's left of them. But yeah. So they're still just waiting to see what's happening. Yeah. You're still going shortly, yeah, no bother. That's fine. Yeah, we're going shortly, so we're just waiting. Oh, yeah. Mud. Yeah, I'll show you a wee bit here. That's what it looks like. And framework. So they run right the length of the bus. That's the framework. And it's like Alexander Dennis on the later models had it was like a monocoque. It was like a one-piece moulding. I think they use that on the Enviro 200s and also on the Emeralds and Enviro 400s for the roofs. It's like I think it's a one-piece moulding or casting or something. To save weight, that's what the object was. There's still obviously framework on it, but this is an earlier. That would have been Dennis Dart, I think. Alexander would be the earlier Alexander bodyworks, but that there was definitely an Alexander bodywork. So if I've got Volvo Mark II, Volvo Elsa Mark II, it's Alexander AV type bodywork. It would have a dome, or still got the dome actually. I can't really, there. That's called the dome, the top front window dome. It still retains that, and they're quite expensive. I'm standing on the puddles now. Yeah, they're quite sought after. These things are valuable because it's a one-piece casting, you see, so they're quite expensive. So, oh, that's some torquing up the wheels. So he's got a great big massive torque wrench that I showed you earlier, and we use that for torquing up bus wheels or lorry wheels. Truck wheels, bus wheels are the same. There's a full size wheels, so you can see the size of the torque wrench that he's using. It's absolutely massive. So they've been torqued up. So there's a close-up of the wheels again. That's what I was talking about with the rims, the metal. They're the 22.5 inch radius. So that's it there. So they're all trucks, buses, or heavyweight trucks like your articulated trucks, and big full-size buses like the big single deckers and big double deckers. Share the same wheel rim and the same tyres as well, but the tyres are variable. You can have different sizes of tyres, but it's a standard fuel rim you use. So it's not too bad. It's like 20 to 5. It's still quite lighty. So that's the. I'll be doing another wee job on it. Actually, could be doing another small job on the ramp. There's like a ramp interlock system on some of them where the. Oh no! It's not. It's quite an ingenious idea actually. They just use the ramp because we're collecting wheels for the other buses back home in Justin Hall back at Forfar. We just ramp the wheels up on the ramp. There's plenty of room for the wheels to go. But instead of lifting these big heavy wheels, just use the ramp. When I'm being the cameraman, I don't need to get my hands dirty. I can just keep my hands clean and hold the camera and film. That's my excuse. So that's an ingenious idea. You've got the ramp, might as well use it. Yeah. It's keying in the cab still, trying it. Yes. Yeah, like that in there, being your element.
The vault.
Yeah. Brilliant. So I'm not quite sure what this part of the. I don't think that's. I'm not sure. Actually, I think that is part of the Bridgeton because it's got bus destination blinds in there. So that's probably a store or something. Yeah, I think that'll be this. Be the store. I like that little lamp. It's quite nice. Very nice. Yes. Bridgeton. So it's a very secure place, obviously. It did used to be an old depot after all. Yeah, it's probably a listed building as well, actually. Being such an old building, I'm guessing it's maybe even a listed building. It's quite possible. So just. I think that's them loaded their wheels up on the bus. Yep, that's the wheels loaded up, so we've got the thing fired up and we're going to be heading off. This is going away ahead. Not sure. I'm not sure what we're doing next. Well, at least the ken that works. So I'm not sure what we're doing next. We'll maybe get some here or something. We might be going. We'll have to pick up the other two from IKEA. So yeah. I'll keep you posted anyway. I'll show you. Well, video, whatever. Go to video. Okay. Oh, I forgot to. The driver's got fed up though, so he's sitting upstairs. Really like me do all the driving now. Yeah, he's had enough driving now, so. So I'm just waiting on the other guy, he's coming, and then we'll be making the way. I'll be doing the driving back as well. So, but you can see just how much space you can utilise in a double decker. There's all that space for spare wheels and everything. There's lots of other things as well. So handy for that, eh? So, see what I think that's the cue to get going. So I'm going to have to go just now, okay?
Use the left lane to bear right onto the Clyde Gateway. Bear right. Go past these lights, then at the next set, turn left. Turn left onto Pomerley Road, then turn right to merge onto the M74 towards Glasgow. Use the right two lanes to exit right to merge onto the M8 towards Glasgow Airport. Exit 25 towards Graham. turn right, then at the roundabout, take the second exit onto Kingsage Drive towards Govan. To the roundabout, take the second exit onto Kingsage Drive towards Govan. Take the third exit. You've entered the car park for your destination.
We're getting some furniture, big enough delivery vehicle for it anyway. So I've got the bus into IKEA. That's where they pick the other two ladies up with the wee one, the wee kid. That's Joel. The wee one's Joel. He owns this bus, little Joel. So I'll get my hand load it up. You'll see a double decker in here.
Right, go up the stairs for 5. No, up the
That's the wee
stairs.
one that owns the bus, little Joe.
On the inside, sorry.
So there's the owner, wee Joe. That's the owner of the bus. So when he's old enough, he'll own this, he'll be driving it one day. So that's his big toy. Right. So I'll just wait on everybody to get settled, then I will get myself back in here and I'll drive it to Sainsbury's, and then I'm not sure if we're doing still game locations or not, I'm not too sure, but I'll keep you posted anyway. I'll give them that help with it. So I've parked the bus up at Sainsbury's. We're going to wait to go to Sainsbury's just for a few sandwiches and stuff, some food, and then I'll continue on back to wherever it is we're going next. Even though I had a Subway, I'm just maybe going to get another coffee. I think we're all going in, there's a few of us going in, so maybe nip into the toilet and a coffee or something, maybe a bar of chocolate or whatever. Are we still going to still game locations, or? Oh, I get the fuel light. I get some. Well, it's possibly. I was discussing the mileage for the amount of fuel, because I might have to fill up with diesel. So I'll just play it by ear, see what happens, see what time like. It's getting dark as well though, so I'll just see how it goes. Keep you posted. Right, so I've got some, got myself toilet and that, stuff at Sainsbury's. I think now we're just going to get some fuel for the bus, so I'll get the garage, suitable garage, probably SUV one, commercial vehicle one, and then that's getting on a bit. They're probably needing to get back to Dundee because it's going to be quite a drive back. You know, it's 50 mile an hour top speed. Not that it doesn't go, I don't floor it, but that's governor to 50, so I'm doing about 50 on the way back, so it takes longer than what I would have car, so it's going to be over 2 hours. So I think the still game vacations might not be done today. It might be done at another time because it took quite a while at Bridgeton getting the work done on the bus. That was the main priority. So I think there's still some in there actually. There's a little dog in the bus, so I've got to close the door pretty quickly so it doesn't run out. Joel, it's the wee lad that owns the bus. Right, so I've just stopped off at Old Inn Services. I pulled in here. The young lads there, they'll fill it up with diesel. They get their hands dirty, and the driver, so I get to keep my hands clean. And the driver, they can fill it up. I got the boiler showing. So I'll go and get myself a coffee or something. This was 7 years ago. I drove a Volvo B7 into here. We were going to the show bus. Took an old Dundee Mark II Volvo B7, going down to Donington for the show bus in 2016. And on the way down, I pulled in here for fuel. So I'm going to get a picture of this bus where 7 years ago I took the Mark II, or 6 years ago actually. I took this 273. So it's sort of like before and after kind of things. So I'll go and get a photo of it. In fact, I'll video it and then I'll photo it. So it's Shell garage just at the old Inn Services. And the moon's out as well, so I thought I'd get that in. Obviously it looks like this HGV will be coming in, but there's a lane for him anyway on that side, so... Oh no, he's not, I thought he was... Oh yes, he's coming, so there's 2 lanes, so there's plenty of space for the lorry again as well. Yeah, it's a pity. I was hoping that lorry was maybe going in there. I was hoping the lorry would draw in alongside there, because I like to get a picture of the bus and the lorries together. I wouldn't be taking too much of the lorry, but because it's not ours, it's private, obviously, not to do with us, but I just like a nice shot of it, the bus and lorry together. But it looks like he's going to somewhere else, so I thought he was coming in. Yeah, so I just I'll get myself a cup of coffee and then we'll be here's the fueler. So price of diesel's on 51.9 a litre for diesel, quite expensive, but it's like that everywhere. I mean, fuel, the price of oil's gone up everywhere, so it's just here, it's all over the place. It's tax that they add on to it, isn't it? It's the tax, the fuel tax. So it's how they make their money, isn't it? It's bloody expensive stuff nowadays. Yeah, the price of fuel, it's just a big percentage of it is tax. So, but we'll chip in anyway, so it's not so bad. So I wasn't really much, when I started the video, and I didn't really make an introduction because I wasn't really sure just how the video was going to be. I didn't think I was going to be putting it on YouTube. I just decided throughout the day that I would do that. So there isn't really much of an introduction, but there's certainly a lot more now. I set off from Justin Hall at about 8 o'clock this morning. Then I drove into Dundee, my home city, the city where that bus used to work. Picked up everybody, and then we continued on from Dundee through to Glasgow and went to Bridgeton. Well, went to IKEA first, dropped off the two ladies and the young one as well. They went to IKEA, and then after that went to Bridgeton to get the work done in the bus, to get the tyres, etc. From Bridgeton we went back to IKEA, picked them up, and now we're just on the way back home. We were going to, if there was time, we would have went to do the Still Game. I didn't actually tell you about Still Game. If you don't know what Still Game is, it's a Scottish TV series. It's a comedy TV series, and it's filmed in Glasgow. And I think if there was time, we would have went round Glasgow to some of the filming locations, but there wasn't enough time, so we just had to get back, get it fueled, and then I'm going to drive it back to Dundee, drop off a lot of them, and there'll be a few of us still going up to Justin Hall, where I'll then reverse the bus, park the bus up for the night, and then I'll drive everybody back in the car. Well, those that are coming up to Justin Hall, driving back in the car back to Dundee. So a lot of driving. So it's quite a good day though. Quite enjoyed it. So far so good. Bus is running well and everything. In fact, I just remembered something. The screen wash ran out on it, so I'm going to get some screen wash put in the screen wash reservoir. Yeah, because I remembered that I run out of screen wash. Because this time of year they put a lot of, they put the salt on the roads and that, and it's winter time. The roads are always mucky, so all the spray off the motorways and that, the winds, bus is manky, so the windows are manky. So you really need to have screen wash. So we're using that to clean the window. That ran out, so this is the time to get it filled. I think they're just going to get some screen wash. It gets topped up on the wee reservoir at the front. I think we're going to get some long video. Yeah, so I'm going to get a coffee and just getting a little bit chilly, so I'll keep you posted. So this is how the screen wash goes in. I'll just show you how you put a screen wash in the Volvo B7 Tl light body double decker. So there's where Shane getting business done. So just putting concentrated screen wash into there. We could really do with a funnel, but we don't, so we're just improvising as best as we could. It just simply goes in there, and then add the water just to dilute it down a wee bit. Well, it's a bit awkward with the angle that we're getting it, because it's kind of horizontal, so we're not really pouring it in, we're pouring it along. Whereas if we had a long funnel, we could have poured the liquid in a bit better. So it certainly needs screen wash anyway for this time of year, where the roads are just filthy. I'll just leave them to it. So I encountered another wee problem with it. I've put the wipers in the park position. I think the nozzles are blocked. There's enough screen wash in the system, but they're still not coming out. So with the wee jets we I'll put in just to clear the jet. I'll just be well the road dirt. So try to get that cleared. So I've checked again, we've cleared the nozzles, but still not working. The motor's turning, we can hear it. What we reckon is it's going to need an air line to blast through the hose. So he's put a compressed air through this system, and it'll blast all the dirt out of it. That could only be well, we're reckoning that's what it is. So I'll just have to kind of get the windows a wee clean here, and we'll be on the way again. So I'll let you know how we get on. Right, so I've stopped at the Bridgeton parking ride, Bridgeton services, and I think the squad are needing something to eat, so let's go and get something to eat. Start that up, but then it's a City Link bus. So it's not on, so it's not off again.
9 Dundee.
Okay, 9 Dundee. I'll make plenty of money anyway, that's for sure, Ken. So there's still quite a bit to go yet for me anyway. Still got to everybody's going to get something to eat, and then after that I drive back to Dundee, drop everybody off, and then drive the bus back to its new home, Justin Hall, which is just outside Forfar. And then once I've packed up the bus, I've got to then drive the other lads back, drop them off, and then drive myself back home. And tomorrow, taking the bus out again. It's getting a couple of other things done down in Dundee from work. It's based in Justin Hall, so I've got to drive up, pick the lads up in the car, drive up to Justin Hall, collect the bus, take it into Dundee to get the other things that are going to be getting done as well. There's a few things being collected and that from the Dundee depot, so quite a lot of driving. I might video it tomorrow as well, see what I feel, see what happens. But just here at Bridgeton, so we're just gonna wait on them getting stuff to eat and that. I didn't know that bad actually, I'll maybe just get a coffee or something. It's just, I'm not overly hungry, so I'll keep you posted, see how I get on with the day. Oh, if you want, so well, the rest are getting some grub. Me here now, have a look at the City Link coach, is it? Yeah, doing some bus spotting. Well, this is actually my holiday, and it's a true sense of the word busman's holiday. Driving buses, bus spotting. You just can't wait to get your licence keying in, and then you'll be driving the buses as well. So you've got to pass your theory test, so you're getting there. Just keep swatting up, and we get your practical test, and then you'll be doing that. So just making way up to the City Link. I think everybody knows who we are, rushing up to buses, picturing them, typical bus spotters we are. So it's parts of Hamilton coach. It's I think it's a Volvo B9. So I'll turn this round and I'll show you. It's got a nice green neon lighting on the side, that LED lighting actually. Elite body. See that Cian, signs lit up in that. Elite. It's quite smart like. Yeah, just get the view video of that as well. Yeah, I have a no. I think that's Plaxton Elite, isn't it? Plaxton Elite body. That's Volvo B9 chassis. I'm not sure what year is that one, Cian? It's a private number. 21 plate. Actually, it's just a year old. It's maybe a bit smudgy on this camera, but let's see if we can get a view from up here. You might get a better. It's well lit up. Even the luggage compartment's got the nice blue lighting on it as well. That's a connecting coach coming up. This is quite smart. So I was just getting a few shots of that. I didn't want to get too many passengers on because this is going online, so I'm kind of respecting their privacy as well. So I'll just get pictures of I'll get pictures of the off side of the buses because I don't really want to try and I don't want to get passengers in it because they're not really wanting to be filmed. So this is quite smart. I'll get them together. So that's the other one. What are we like? What are we like? Yeah. You'll be looking to what are they all? But we're used to that, eh? Bus spotters. Bus mad we are. Drive buses all day. Trying to keep away from them on the free time. Did you get your? Where is it? Well, this is at the Broxton parking ride for Perth. The city of Perth. The Scottish city of Perth, not the one in Australia. Just highlight that, it's the city of Perth in Scotland because there are Perths in South. Because this, going on YouTube, this could be watched anywhere in the world, so I've got to kind of like mention Scotland on it as well. So, oh, it's getting cold. It's been a cold day, it's been freezing. I'm glad they got the heating fixed. Well, like I say, it was the Mr. blower motor, it was turned out there was a bad connection on it, so now that that's working, it's all good, all good. It's just the airline for the jets, the screen wash on the jet, it's just needing air blasted to get all the muck out. Because at this time of year, you do need to have clean windscreens because of all the dirt and muck that gets thrown up off the roads. Because obviously the sanders and that have to treat the roads for the ice and that, and all that muck goes on the side of the bus and all over the windscreens. So screen wash is essential. Anyway, we're over. I'll keep you posted. So I've parked the bus just a little bit closer to McDonald's. They're in there getting some grub. And I've got bus 6 just opposite the McDonald's. I don't really want anything at McDonald's, I'm not too bad at the moment, so. I never actually knew there was a McDonald's here at the Bridgeton services. Learn something new every day, eh? So, I wasn't aware there was one here. Right, so that's my first drop off in Dundee. Drop off Sharon and that. This is back in can't remember this, Long Haul Road. Sorry, Bitkerra Road. This part of the old bus route actually further up. The buses, 17 route used to go along, but does go along Happy Hill. So I just stopped opposite where the Iceland is, bottom of Long Haul Road. And then after that I take the bus up to Long Haul Road to do the next drop off. I think they're waiting on us. I heard the bell going. Two bells. I heard the 2 bells, that's my cue to go again, so I better get in there and do the next drop off. Right, door to door service. We've even got the bus on right into the residential streets. There's enough room, you get a bus through there. This is the way it goes. So I've got a lot of stuff, furniture and that at the bottom of my Kia, so they'll be able to offload it. It's just across the road. There's enough room, it's only here for a minute. That's not going to make too much noise for the length of time we're going to be here. This is Fintry Housing Scheme. It's not every day you'll see a double-decker bus on this street. Talk about door-to-door service. And there's the owner right here, little Joe. It's your bus. That's his bus once he grows up. It's in his. This is his big toy. Sweet Joe, good Joe. It's tall, isn't it? He's looking up. He's looking up at the bus. You won't see the roof, will you? It's right away up there, 15 feet up into the sky. I better make sure that didn't come. I better censor that a bit. Hope you didn't see that bit. Anyway, so let's drop off number 2, and then I'm going to take the bus up to its bed. Basically its new home up at Justin Hall after this. So, still a bit of driving to go yet. Door-to-door delivery service. I better give him a hand. My excuses are in the film, and I just film it. No, I better go and give them a hand there, because I don't want to leave the thing sitting here too long, because it's quite loud. So it's quite it's sort of like temporarily parked here. I don't want to sit here too long here. So. Right, that's the 2 bells. That's everybody. There's still some there, so I don't want to sit here long. So next stop's Justin Hall. This is a residential area, so it's a bit. I don't want to leave it idling here too long. So let's go. Let's jump on. Right, so that's us back at Justin Hall now. Bus is all parked up. Just got to unload all these wheels now. So I'm going to wait to disappear up the stair. That's all the hard work. No, I'll get down there, I'll give them a hand. So that's the neighbouring bus 4. That's his sister bus. Oh, you're not going to see much, it's pitch dark. And there is a curfew, it's a 10 o'clock curfew, so it's 10 o'clock, just a few minutes past 10. So we'll have to kind of be out of the site. Because there's a farm, like, you know, I don't want to disturb anybody. It's just for the noise curfew and that. It's part of the arrangement, the agreement. So that was it anyway. I wasn't really planning on doing a video today. I just kind of thought I'd make one up as I went along. So I'm not upper deck, not the baby. So I've got to lend a hand. So I hope you enjoyed that. Just stay tuned, see what else I put up online. This might be a long video, or I might split it into parts. I don't know which. Just see what turns out. Okay, thanks for watching. Bye for now.